Thanks to Senator. We just finished conversations in Kenya and right now in Nigeria, where after a much controversial weekend in Adamawa State, northern Nigeria, due to the illegal declaration of supplementary election results, the Independent National Electoral Commission finally announced Governor Ahmadu Fintiri of the People's Democratic Party as winner of the March 18 governorship election.
Fintiri, who's the incumbent governor in the state, polled 430,861 votes to defeat his closest opponent, the All Progressive Congress governorship candidate, Senator Aishatu Dahiru-Ahmed Binani, who got 398,738 votes.
Binani had earlier sought an injunction from the court to stop INEC from proceeding with the collation and announcement of the result, but failed to get it.
Recall that INEC conducted rerun elections in Adamawa State on Saturday, April 15th, due to the cancellation of elections in 69 polling units and for 48 local government area by the state collation officer, Professor Mohammed Mele.
Now, collation of results were suspended on Sunday after the state resident electoral commissioner, REC, Hudu Yunusa Ari, prematurely declared Binani as the winner, contrary to the provisions of the Electoral Act. Similarly, IGP Usman Baba ordered that the Commissioner of Police on election duty in Adamawa State, Mohammed Barde, withdraw from the state with immediate effect, while the culpable REC has been suspended indefinitely and reported to the appointing authority, the presidency, through the secretary to the government of the Federation, SGF, Boss Mustafa, for further disciplinary action. And joining us for this conversation, we have Chukwuma Okenwa, is the Executive Director, Lead Network Africa. We also have Olusesan Okunade, Public Affairs Analyst, and also Jide Ojo, who is also a Public Affairs Analyst. Gentlemen, welcome to the conversation. All right, I'd like to begin with you, Jide. I mean, we've had these situations. On Monday we discussed it, and even till now, some of the actions of the REC were described as an ominous sign of democratic backsliding. Now, for you, what was your first or initial reaction to the REC announcing the results while the collation were still on?
Okay, so if you pick a copy of today's Punch newspaper on page 26, that's what I wrote in my column in the Punch. It's a very despicable act. It's brought the legal profession into disrepute and also dented the credibility of 2023 general elections. And this is why I, for one, have asked for severe punitive action against Yunusa Ari, Udu Yunusa Ari, because I do not expect what he has done from somebody from the legal profession. How can you justify that you jumped into the fray? It's not as if the returning officer has resigned from his task. Adjournment was made for 11 a.m. You went there in the company of the police and DSS by 9 a.m. and decided to make an announcement without even a shred of results. No paper. I saw the training video. There was no single paper from which he read the result as to be able to determine who won and who has lost. Again, there is a background to this. If you check online, there is a Sahara Reporter news story on March 19, 2023, exposing that there was a leaked audio between Udu Yunusa Ari and one of the collation officers, the one for Fufure local government, which was the major local government of contention, which largely was responsible for the election being declared inconclusive. Now, when that leaked audio took place, according to Sahara Reporter in that March 19 story, they contacted Udu, and he said, oh, there is nothing of such, but was at the same time trying to negotiate with the correspondent of Sahara Reporter for the story not to be published, which that means he has something to hide. And I thought INEC as an institution, when they saw that story, because I believe, or I learned, the PDP actually wrote a petition against Udu Yunusa Ari, asking that it should be redeployed. If that is true, why did INEC refuse to redeploy him? Why was he kept at his desk until he went for the broke and brought the 2023 election into utmost audio? So I feel that Section 120 sub 4 of the Electoral Act, which prescribes 36 months imprisonment for anyone who announced fake results, should be the basis upon which INEC will press charges against the Adamawa rank. Recall that even ahead of this 2023 election, last year when some of the resident electoral commissioners and national commissioners were appointed, civil society organizations actually did write to the Senate committee screening these gentlemen and women that some of them have party affiliation. They have political party affiliation against letter and spirit of, I think, Section 8 of the Electoral Act, which says no member of the electoral management body should be a card-carrying member of a political party or should be participant.
Thank you, Mr. Jidiojo. I would like Chukwuma Okenwa to come in at this point. Chukwuma, looking at the events that played out last weekend, they're quite shocking. How inimical to our democracy is the action of Hudu Yunusa Ari? I know that INEC has called for his prosecution, the Inspector General of Police to arrest him. Who else is complicit in all of the criminality behind the poll drama? Because we have the State Commissioner of Police who was also present, seated on the same table with him while he was announcing this fake result. So what needs to happen? Has he been arrested? What is the latest? And how can INEC better screen its employees and make sure that this sort of embarrassing situation doesn't happen again in the future?
First, I recommend a full-scale investigation. Let me use the right word, probe. I mean, this particular matter should be properly probed to disclose all of the nitty-gritty associated with this level of, I call that an unruly behavior, and gross disregard for the sensibilities of over 200 million Nigerians, that in a lawful nation, in quote, someone could come out and so usurp authority of we are not talking about usurping the authority of the returning officer here. We are talking about the laws of the land. And before the glare, I mean, all eyes was on Adamawa State.
Yeah.
Being that this, as it were like a supplementary election, and a lot of interest were around it, also being like, almost like a history, being in the making, when the woman was first declared as, maybe imagine as the first female governor in Nigeria. So there were a lot of interest in this particular election. But of course, the fact that Nigerians wanted, let more women be given opportunity, does that mean it doesn't mean it should be at the expense of the will of the people? It doesn't mean it has to be at the expense of the goodwill of the good people of Adamawa State. So we expected it to be based on popularity, as it clearly stipulated in the tenets that guide democracy. But for someone to come in an election like that have like much interest and happening between the two major political parties, with lots of interest to already like build up in that particular state. I mean, it was very obvious that whichever way it turns out, it's not going to be like, like a game as usual. I mean, a lot of interest is going to be about this whole thing. So what we reasonably expected would have been just follow the laws as it is clearly stipulated. Don't try to do it the other way. So I think there should be a full-scale probe. And then all those that are associated should also be part of it. And I'm happy we've already begun to see election. But with this one more point, which is also very important, I think I'm interested also in knowing what must have inspired his action. Because if you ask me, what is done is not entirely like, yes, it's still strange to our law. but it's not completely like a deviation of like a strange culture we see the electoral empire enshrining, and it's a warning.
All right, thank you so much, Chukwuma. I'd like to bring in Olusesan into all of this. And this is the issue of Binani, who was prematurely declared the winner of the election. Now, we've seen INEC trying to excuse itself from this situation and suspending the REC, that is UNISA RA. But Binani went ahead yesterday trying to stop INEC from announcing the results. And she said that INEC does not have the power to change the elections, but rather it is in the power of the Election Petitions Tribunal, because the election result has been announced by the REC. Now, for you, I mean, what was your own analysis of all of that? Now, INEC has declared Adamawa Fintiri as the winner of the gubernatorial elections, but we still have these issues on ground. So what's your own assessment of all of this?
Thank you very much. And I think this is what we get when you have built illegality over time, making it to be like a legal act. So you ask yourself the question, you can pick Binani, who is the APC aspirant, as going to court, but I'm sure there are legal counsel who are advisory, who provide legal advice to and pick up some of these things that we expected should have put caution, going through all the necessary thing entrenched in the Electoral Act to put caution to her that this is act of illegality. First and foremost, the act of bringing in a rep to announce result when the returning officer is very much on ground, and even at the middle, what we saw and read was that the collation was still on, and a rec came in at 9 o'clock as against 11 o'clock being done. You see, why some of these things are actually thriving is because in time past, when issues like this happen, we handle it with levity. And just like my fellow colleagues have said here, some of us are interested to see this truth. It's not just enough for INEC to suspend the REC officer. If you go to the REC, just like Mr. Gideon just said, we have penalty for this kind of act, and not just him alone. He cannot carry out this act alone. We saw the Commissioner of Police present as at 9 o'clock. What led to that? Because the adjournment was meant for 11. What suddenly changed? Why do we not have a communication either from the CP to affirm and confirm from the returning officer the instruction given by the REC officer? So my own to it is that because this act, we've seen electoral action being carried out on illegality, and people are not being punished decisively. So other people just feel that we can do it, and like you hear the small slogan going on, go to the court. And this is where we put to test the judiciary system, of which yesterday I was happy at the judgment pronounced to throw out the case brought in by Binani, that it's really not accepted by them. So we want the judiciary to uphold that which we have in them as the last hope of the common man, so that when illegality are being carried out, people are punished decisively for it, and that will serve as deterrent to others, because we believe that Binani alone wouldn't have carried this out. He has legal people who are in advisory capacity to advise her before carrying out the action.
Thank you very much, Olusesan. Still talking about this illegality that happened, I will like to bring in Mr. Jide. Just to point to a point you made earlier before you concluded. The case that was thrown out yesterday was thrown out based on jurisdiction. If the court had the right jurisdiction to listen to that case, it hasn't been looked into in its entirety yet. Now, Mr. Jide, despite knowing the declaration of results on Sunday was premature, the APC candidate, Senator Aishatu Dahiru-Ahmed Binani, went ahead to try to obtain a judicial endorsement of a controversial declaration. She also gave a premature acceptance speech where she thanked, Mr. President and women in Nigeria, knowing that the REC did not have the constitutional authority to announce the results. What do you make of all of this? Do you think she's complicit, and should there be punitive measures taken against her?
Interestingly, even if we prescribe that it's not going to happen because she belongs to the ruling party, and I don't want to say much more than that. The bottom line is that I'm surprised at some lawyers. I watched yesterday when a lawyer was claiming Section 149 as the basis upon which they went to court, that whether a declaration was made legally or illegally, legitimately or illegitimately, it does not matter. Once a pronouncement has been made by an INEC staff, it should stand and the other party should go to the tribunal. I wonder why, whether the law school and the law programs of Nigeria is not reducing quality. Because there is a Section 65, subsection 1, which had empowered the INEC to review within 7 days any result that is made under duress, or if the result is made without due process or in consonance with the legal provision. That Section 65 sub 1 was the basis upon which INEC altered the victory of Honorable Dogua, Alazan Dogua, majority leader in the 9th House of Reps, where the professor from BUK claimed that he made the declaration under duress on February 25th. And when he wrote officially to INEC, INEC reviewed that result and declared the election inconclusive, and that there should be supplementary election in 13 polling units. Eventually, Alazan Dogua won last Saturday after the supplementary election, but due process was followed. How then would the lawyer to Binani blind himself to the provision of Section 65 sub 1 and went ahead to be quoting Section 149? Anyway, in any event, we should not expect that just being bookish means to is tantamount to wisdom or intelligence. You can read your way through the university, get the certificate, but you may not have the wisdom within which to ply your trade. But long story short, I think one other thing that needed to be unraveled was the role of that DSS man that made the claim that 2 billion naira was used to induce some of the dramatics personnel. You possibly heard that there was a claim that 2 billion naira exchange hands for the act to be perfected. Yes, Binani has denied that. She claims she's a Democrat. She will not do anything above the law. But nobody will expect him to confirm and to admit to have been the one that gave that resources. And we should also not treat this particular Adamawa incidents in isolation. Recall that on February 25th, there was disruption of collation in Obingwa local government area of Abia State. And the returning officer, who happens to be a vice chancellor of, I think, Federal University of Technology, Futo, Owerri, that Professor Oti, Veronica Oti, if I got her name right, claimed that she was put under immense pressure and to make a wrong declaration, that a lot of money was waved at her, a lot of carrot. She was put under pressure, but she resisted. She insisted on doing the right thing. And you could see the way she was celebrated when she returned to our campus the Monday after. But has anybody bothered to investigate who are those people reaching out to her that want her to compromise the electoral process? I think we kept quiet on that. We also must not forget similar incidents that have happened in the past in Idosi and Ekiti State way back in 2009, where Mrs. Ayoka Adebayo, then resident electoral commissioner, was put under duress, and to make a wrong declaration, she resigned, And the federal government then, I recall Mrs. Dora Akunyili, of blessed memory, was the Minister of Information then, said the federal government will not accept her resignation. She eventually had to make that declaration, which eventually the court found not to be appropriate because that election of Engineer Segun Oni was nullified, and Dr. Kayode Fayemi was adjudged as being the right
now, Jide, from all you're saying, there's still a lot of issues and a lot of people are calling for investigation. I think Chukwuma also indicated that we're looking for proper investigation into all of these issues. Unfortunately, we'll have to draw these conversations here, but we do hope that what is needed is done and that proper investigation is done and those who are found culpable are made to face the wrath of the law. We're still waiting because INEC is saying that it's only the president that can actually remove the wreck, so we wait to see how that pans out. But thank you so much, Jide, Chukwuma, Okenwa, and Olusesan for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. This is where we drop the anchor on today's conversation. Thank you very much for being a part of the program. I am Gbenga Aborowa.
And I am Rita Omodia. See you again on Friday. Bye-bye.